Reenchantment, I sort of wanted to address this in part because it seems to me like there are a lot of people that are talking about reenchantment. And essentially what reenchantment would mean, well, part of the reason I want to talk about it is because I think it's hard to understand what people mean when they talk about reenchantment. And I think the people who are quite invested in it a lot of times don't exactly know how to express what it is that they want or how they bring it about. But basically, a simple definition would just be that because of the modern materialistic, rationalistic way of looking at things, then the things in life are no longer lovely and valuable and wonderful. And how do we change our way of looking at the world so that we can engage in it the way that a medieval person might have, or an ancient person might have, or at least in the positive sense of connection to reality and to the things of the universe.
Yeah, and real quickly, because you give your brief description there of those things. I think that it's very easy for people to see that the world that we're living in, especially the Western world that we're living in, is very disenchanted.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people can say that and really not know exactly how to explain it or even put it into words.
Right.
But the world is very clearly void of life and beautiful mystery and things like that. Like, it's missing.
Right. Well, in a sense, the rational, scientific, and you could say Enlightenment worldview, although I'll show this doesn't begin with the Enlightenment, that it predates the Enlightenment. But you could say that way of approaching the world makes a mission out of destroying beauty and mystery. Because, and maybe I should remove beauty from the phrase and it becomes more obvious that that's all about destroying mystery. If there's something that we don't understand, then that's like a terrain for us to conquer.
Right.
Until we have removed the mystery totally and we control the thing now.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have to answer every question. We have to explain everything. We want to have, so like we talked about in our discussions on prayer, like the approach people have to prayer is like a list of things that you go through, which is like a very disenchanted approach to prayer.
Right.
And it's like, here's what this is and here's what it does, and you want this result, here's what you do. So like a very, mechanistic approach to life.
Yeah, and even the sense I just have to understand everything. That was something I tried to draw attention to in Aaron's process that he was describing, is that he said it was important to just try some of these prayer practices before understanding it.
Right.
He wanted that experience of letting go of understanding, I think, of stepping into something that you trust is good, but you haven't wrapped your mind around it. And I've been looking through a lot of fairy tales recently. I'm not going to mention Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but you see something very often where in order for the good thing to happen that's supposed to happen, the hero of the story needs to follow a ball of yarn wherever it rolls, or follow a feather wherever it blows, or like follow the arrow wherever it lands. And there's like this message you see over and over again in different tales that is that sometimes you just need to walk in a path that you don't understand.
Yeah.
And just be willing to embrace that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, while you were describing those things, I kind of had this idea of like, it's kind of like along the lines of you're at a barn dance and somebody says, you should dance with this person. You're like, why? I don't understand that, or, it doesn't make sense. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to. Go do it, and then you'll see what it, what it might change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like one of the reasons, like, I just thought like a real simple proposition. Well, so for one of the questions that came to my mind, if I was to play, I guess you could say devil's advocate, you say, think like a medieval or an ancient person. A lot of modern people will think like, why would I want that? Why would I want to think like they lived in this dark age and there's, look at this beautiful modern world, this wonderful modern world that we've created. Why are you suggesting that I should want to go back to that? And my answer ultimately is like, we're not saying we should like return to the Middle Ages, but we are saying that understanding and knowledge and reason are opposed to faith.
You could also say that in the modern world, what's great about the modern world is we've managed to accomplish things and build things that we're never able to do before, and we're able to cure diseases that we've never been able to cure before. But in a sense,
Right.
there's a whole host of new diseases that come with being
Yeah.
a modern person. And one thing, like, my mind just always goes back to whenever people talk about how great the modern world is, then I think, then why are so many people committing suicide?
Why are so many people miserable?
Yeah, right. And so, like you, I wouldn't exactly say that, although I use the medieval and ancient way of thinking as a sort of way of characterizing reenchantment, I would say the same thing. That's like, well, it's not exactly that you want to suddenly become a medieval person in your outlook. But what you do want is a way of looking at the world that doesn't make you hate your own life.
Yeah, and so personally for me, what I would do, even though I myself often use this language of like thinking like medieval or ancient people did, really I think the proper way to phrase it is what we're trying to recapture and restore a Christian worldview, a Christian way of thinking. So like what we have even in Christianity, even in modern Christianity, is not a Christian worldview. It's a secular, atheistic, or
Materialistic.
materialistic, or even like pagan philosophical worldview. So it's a non-Christian worldview that has kind of taken over Christianity in the modern West.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to add, like to maybe even refine what you just said there, David, you could say that the modern Christian view is more of a philosophical view than it is like an actual Christ view. Like,
Well, I wouldn't say that, because I would say that properly understood Christianity is philosophy and not religion. Because like religion as we understand it is a modern thing. And like it is, it's a product.
Yeah, I think
of
this
it.
just different uses of the word
Yeah.
philosophy, though. I think when Aaron's saying that, maybe you're talking about like
Something you have
that
in
you
your
get
mind.
into your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, again, actually, philosophy
Right.
means the love of wisdom,
Right.
and important to that is love.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to focus on say the love of wisdom and think it's all about wisdom, but don't forget love. This is actually what philosophy would all be about, properly speaking. And I think when you say philosophy, you're again meaning more this kind of thing that you get into your mind.
Yeah, maybe the philosophy without love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That maybe that would be the way to put it.
Well, and I would just even say like just false philosophy. Like it's not actually philosophy, but it's what poses as philosophy in the modern world.